The reaches opened before us and closed behind, as if the forest had stepped leisurely across tile water to bar the way for our return. Its exploration of the minds of the European characters is often penetrating and full of insight, but all that has been more than fully discussed in the last 50 years. His obvious racism has, however, not been addressed, and it is high time it was. Conrad was born in 1857, the very year in which the first Anglican missionaries were arriving among my own people in Nigeria. It was certainly not his fault that he lived his life at a time when the reputation of the black man was at a particularly low level. But even after due allowances have been made for all the influences of contemporary prejudice on his sensibility, there remains still in Conrad's attitude a residue of antipathy to black people, which his peculiar psychology alone can explain. His own account of his first encounter with a black man is very revealing. Quote, "A certain enormous buck nigger encountered in Haiti fixed my conception of blind, furious, unreasoning rage, as manifested in the human animal to the end of my days. Of the nigger I used to dream for years afterwards." Unquote. Certainly Conrad had a problem with niggers. His inordinate love of that word itself should be of interest to psychoanalysts. Sometimes his fixation on blackness is equally interesting, as when he gives us this brief description. Quote, "A black figure stood up, strode on long black legs, waving long black arms." As though we might expect a black figure striding along on black legs to wave white arms. But so unrelenting is Conrad's obsession. As a matter of interest, Conrad gives us in a personal record what amounts to a companion piece to the Buck Nigger of Haiti. At the age of 16, Conrad encountered his first Englishman in Europe. He calls him, quote, "my unforgettable Englishman," unquote, and describes him in the following manner. Quote, "His calves exposed to the public gaze dazzled the beholder by the splendor of their marble-like condition and the rich tone of young ivory. The light of a headlong, exalted satisfaction with the world of men illuminated his face and triumphant eyes. In passing, he cast a glance of kindly curiosity and friendly gleam of big, sound, shiny teeth. His white calves twinkled sturdily." End quote. Irrational love and irrational hate jostling together in the heart of that talented, tormented man. But whereas irrational love may at worst engender foolish acts of indiscretion, irrational hate can endanger the life of the community. Naturally, Conrad is a dream for psychoanalytic critics. Perhaps the most detailed study of him in this direction is by Bernard C. Meyer, M.D. In his lengthy book, Dr. Meyer follows every conceivable lead, and sometimes inconceivable ones, to explain Conrad. As an example, he gives us long disquisitions on the significance of hair and hair cutting in Conrad, and yet not even one word is spared for his attitude to black people. Not even the discussion of Conrad's anti-Semitism was enough to spark off in Dr. Meyer's mind those other dark and explosive thoughts, which only leads one to surmise that Western psychoanalysts must regard the kind of racism displayed by Conrad absolutely normal, despite the profoundly important work done by Frantz Fanon in the psychiatric hospitals of French Algeria. Whatever Conrad's problems were, you might say he is now safely dead. Quite true. Unfortunately, his heart of darkness plagues us still, which is why an offensive and deplorable book can be described by a serious scholar as, quote, "among the half-dozen greatest short novels in the English language," end quote, and why it is today the most commonly prescribed novel in the 20th century literature courses in English departments of American universities.